As work in the Senate on the border security agreement continues, some Republican senators now believe final legislation may not be ready until next week, as Democrats continue to insist on asylum protocols that do not address the ongoing crisis. And there are other issues that have emerged in the negotiations. This delay comes at a time as the American people are speaking out pretty loudly on this. As I mentioned earlier, a Harvard-Harris poll released this week confirms that 35% of voters consider immigration as their top policy concern. And 77% of voters believe the president should negotiate with Republicans over securing the border. Joining me now to discuss this, Senator Pete Ricketts from Nebraska. He serves on 3 Senate committees, including the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Senator Ricketts, welcome back to Washington Watch. Good to see you.
Great. Thank you very much for having me on again.
So, Senator, tell us the latest you're hearing on the border security negotiations. As I understand, this has become a hot topic, not just between Republicans and Democrats, but even among Republicans.
Well, certainly this is a very complicated issue, and James Langford from Oklahoma is doing a fantastic job of representing us and trying to negotiate a deal that will help crack down on the Biden policies that are just catastrophic. I mean, President Biden has basically said that our border is open, and so we literally have, since he's been president, 8.8 million people have tried to cross that border. And one of the things that people are not well aware of is just how he's abusing parole. Usually, if you look at over the Obama and Trump administrations, about 5,600 people will be paroled into this country. That's to be used in case of extreme humanitarian need or our national defense if there's something in the interest of our country. But Joe Biden last year paroled 1.2 million people who were trying to get into this country illegally into our country. About 85% of the people who are trying to cross this border are just being let go into our country. He's absolutely abusing this. And this is one of the things that we're trying to stop, as well as fix the broken asylum process, which people are also gaming to be able to get into this country. I've been to the border 4 times, and I've talked to people coming across, and they're looking for a better job. And that's not a reason for asylum. Asylum is if you cannot find a safe place within your own country. So these are things the Democrats do not want to give up on, and that's why the negotiations continue to drag out. And I just want to point out one other thing about the president. He didn't really start seriously engaging on this issue until the middle of December. So for Democrats to say they've been at it for months, Senate Democrats, yes, but the White House has not. They've hardly been engaged until almost the Christmas holidays. And that's one of the reasons why this is taking a long time. And in fact, I think it just goes to the White House really doesn't want to fix the problem at the southern border. They could if they wanted to. They really just don't. And that's why the negotiations continue to stall.
Senator, you served as governor of Nebraska and the governor of Texas, Governor Abbott. The Supreme Court giving a go-ahead to the federal government to take down, cut the razor wire, the security barriers that Texas has put in. Well, today, Governor Abbott is not backing down. He is saying that there is an invasion. And under Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution, Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3, gives the state the right to self-defense. This has become a defining issue, has it not?
Well, this is why, again, this is the top issue among voters, is because we have an undefended southern border. And all of this is being litigated in the courts, as you indicated. What Governor Abbott's doing is something to protect his state. It's what any governor would try to do in such a catastrophic situation. And unfortunately, our courts take a long time to resolve this. And for example, President Biden's also being sued on his abuse of the parole process, but it'll take months and months to get this resolved. And that's why, we continue as Senate Republicans to push for a border solution, a package of legislation that will require the Biden administration to start taking steps to really control these abuses they've been doing at the southern border. But frankly, again, the Biden administration has been absolutely lawless on this. Part of the questions we're all asking ourselves is how can we trust the Biden administration even if the president signs a bill?
Senator, there's some beyond the border issue. There's some actual issues with the supplemental bill for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. Now, part of that, there's a lot of division over Ukraine and where that money's going. But one of the issues that has raised a lot of concern among Republicans is the humanitarian spending that's associated with this bill, especially when it comes to Israel and Hamas and the United Nations. Speak to that.
Yeah, absolutely. This is one of the reasons why Tim Scott and I introduced the Stop Support of Hamas Act. The Trump administration rightly recognized that the United Nations Relief and Works Agency was essentially just another arm of Hamas. They were funding schools that Hamas was hiding weapons underneath. Their textbooks preached anti-Semitism and killing Jews. And of course, during this hostage crisis, one of the reports was that it was UNRWA teachers who were actually keeping some of the hostages. And the Trump administration, recognizing this, cut off our tax dollars, our U.S. tax dollars, to UNRWA. And as soon as Joe Biden got into office, he actually started giving our tax dollars back to UNRWA. In fact, $300 million last year, almost $1 billion since he's been president. And this is an organization that is essentially funding Hamas. And that's why, as we have not received the text yet for the supplemental, so we'll have to take a look at it. But myself and other colleagues have expressed grave concern about giving the UN any money that would go to humanitarian aid that would end up supporting Hamas.
That's right.
It just makes no sense to keep funding this organization.
It makes absolutely no sense. But it wouldn't be the first time we saw that coming out of Washington, D.C. Senator, always great to see you. Thanks so much for taking time to join us, and thank you for keeping up the fight.
Great. Thank you very much.